getting involved in metaphysics some years ago, one of the first things I learned was a statement in metaphysics that says, I am that I am, which came from the Bible originally. And somebody asked Jesus who he was. He said, I am the great I am that I am. Okay. And I got involved in the teaching, and I got to be really honest with you, I didn't get it. I mean, it sounded like Popeye to me. I am that I am. Okay, And I didn't understand the significance of it for a long time. But to really understand it, and there was a video that came out some years ago that did such a great job in teaching this, was that unfortunately it has been said over the years without a comma. In other words, it should go, I am that I am. And so what this means is that if I showed you a picture of me, let's say of 30 years ago, I'd say, I am that. No, really, I am. No, really, I am that. I am. Okay? That's what it means. And it means an identification. And so for purposes this morning, I'd like to take off the last I am. I would just like to say, I am that. Okay. So what does this mean? I mean, why do we say that? Because we say it makes it true? What's the proof that this is a powerful statement? Okay, so let me give you an example. Yesterday, I did a wedding. And the way a lot of weddings are, the bride and groom always design what they want, but a lot of weddings are you stand there as the minister, and the groom is here, and the best man is here, and all the groomsmen and stuff. And generally, all the maids of honor will come in, and the bride will come in last. Or maybe sometimes couples will come in of the two. But the groom is usually always here. But yesterday, the wedding we did, the bride and groom wanted it this way. They wanted it to where I was in front alone, and as the wedding procession started, everybody came in one at a time to this beautiful music, starting with the groom. So he came in, and then all the groomsmen and all the maids, they came in, and then, of course, the last person was the bride. So yesterday, the groom came in, walked all the way down, and he stands here, and he's sort of standing to where I see his profile. I'm looking at the crowd, and I see his face sort of profiled. And as each person would come down, he would kind of glance over and then look back. And he was kind of nervous and sweaty, and it was a hot day, and he was kind of shaky. And so anyway, we went through this, and they had a big wedding party, and so all these people came, all beautiful. They all came. And the bride was last. So she's way out there. We were outside, so it was a long walk down. And this special music started. Okay, this is the bride. Everybody stands up. She begins to come down. The groomsman is here. I see the profile of his face. He turns away from me to where I can't see his face. He's looking up the aisle at her. Then he turns back profile, and tears are running down his face. And I thought, oh, dude, we've just started. But the thing was, at that moment, when tears were running down his face, I started getting tears. Okay? Now, the dictionary says that what I was experiencing, and psychology says, is something called empathy. And let me read you the definition of it. Empathy is the identification with, an understanding of, an encountered situation, event, or observed emotion. So let's take the first part of it. An identification with, an understanding of. Okay? I am that. The reason that I began to cry is because when he cried, I am that. And it was a sense of oneness. I identified with who and what he was at that moment. Now, I want you to take this aside for just a moment. Let's take this idea and put it on the shelf. And I want to kind of go in a different direction, and I'm going to bring a couple of points together. And if I don't, Judy will remind me. I want to invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to imagine a natural phenomenon that you witnessed personally that was absolutely overwhelming, almost to the point of being fearful. I want you to imagine something like a hailstorm, where it seems like the heavens opened up with buckets of hail that suddenly came down with the backdrop of thunder and lightning. Maybe for you it was a blizzard where the snow seemed to be driving from all directions. Maybe it's an absolutely violently pounding surf coming in on jagged rocks at the ocean. Maybe it was a rainstorm that was absolutely blinding in its magnitude. I want you to imagine this just for a moment. Okay. So when you feel free, come back into the room. Let me ask you a question. Was there anything small or mundane about that vision? Anything at all? The absolute power of nature. Nature does not show up in either a small or mundane way. Now, what do we believe in New Thought? What do we believe in metaphysics about the nature of life and where it all comes from? You know, everyone's got a creation story. Everyone's got a in the beginning story. Now, I want you to imagine for just a moment. You don't have to close your eyes for this one. Just imagine for a moment. Let's go back in time. Let's go back millions of years, whatever, tens of millions of years, whatever it was. And we say in metaphysics, in the beginning was the Word. Okay? In the beginning was the Word. What does that mean? In the beginning was nothing but pure belief. In the beginning was nothing but pure consciousness. In other words, the universe, me, you, us together, everything was purely in consciousness. In the beginning was the Word. And this consciousness grew. And this consciousness took on energy. And one day, that energetic idea, belief, word, exploded all over what is now space and the universe. The Big Bang. In the beginning was the Word, and it came to fruition in a cosmic, literally cosmic explosion. And you're in the bleachers up there watching this. Is there anything small or mundane about that? Now you see, when I say imagine being in the bleachers, the other part of what we believe is you were. We are eternal beings. We have always been. We have always been in consciousness. Do you understand that when the Big Bang took place, and when that consciousness exploded all over the universe, you were there? And you said, I am that. I am that. That's the power of what Jesus was trying to say. Who are you? He said, I am that. I am the very nature and essence of creation. I am not mundane and I am not small. I am pure potentiality. Because if we were to define the consciousness just before the moment of the Big Bang, how would we define it? We would say in metaphysics, pure potentiality. Pure potentiality. I want you to imagine the divine push behind Michelangelo to climb the scaffold and paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. I want you to imagine the power behind the beauty of the rose. I want you to imagine the intelligence behind the healing nature of the body. I'm asking you to imagine the wisdom behind every great discovery and realization. Imagine the courage behind the great migrations. Imagine the faith behind the caterpillar entering the cocoon. Imagine the love that binds together lasting relationships. Imagine the curiosity that propels forward a lifetime of seeking. Is there anything small or mundane about those things? Nothing. Nothing small, nothing mundane. But somewhere along the line, we can feel small and mundane. I went through, and I'm not going to get into particulars today, but recently, over several months, I went through a period of time of smallness and feeling mundane about a particular part of my life. And it's really interesting because when we come to a place where we embrace the smallness and the mundane nature of ourselves, I won't call it nature, occurrence, it's amazing what we attract. It's amazing how the mundane and the small begin to show up. You see, Jack Kornfield says that we are surrounded all the time by people who either embody the light or they embody the darkness. And we are surrounded by ideas that embody the light or the darkness, the grandeur or the smallness. And see, when we're in a personal place of feeling small and mundane, then it's almost like we put on our small and mundane glasses. You know, our glasses half empty glasses instead of our glasses half full glasses. And so I can no longer see all of the grandeur and the wonder that's around me. You know, Eloise talked about this morning in her treatment, she talked about the idea that driving here to the center, she saw the expression of God all around her. And if you listen to her treatment, she even brought up the idea of a deer. Now, you can see a deer as a wonderful example of God, or you can curse the deer because you almost hit him. You know what I'm saying? You got a choice there. And when our glasses are the half-empty glasses, we see the second. And I was walking around for a few months with half-empty glasses on. The glasses of smallness and the glasses of the mundane. And it was amazing to me what would show up for me is that, you know, when I would experience the media, I would see the darkness. And when I would sometimes do my job here, I would notice the things that were wrong. And I would attract people to me who would remind me of my smallness and remind me of my mundane nature and remind me of my shortcomings. And I found myself in this place where I was so far away from the extraordinary and the power and the grandeur of creation. Because what we know is that when the Big Bang took place in this universe, I am that power lives in each and every one of us to experience on a completely unique and authentic way. But this is the wonderful thing about the givingness of God. Myrtle Fillmore said, and she would say this, so let me make it personal. Myrtle Fillmore would walk up to Andy and say, you know, Andy, you're feeling pretty small and mundane, but God is in there too. God is in there too. And no matter what glasses you put on, there is that amazing nature within us that goes clear back to the beginning of time, which is the spark of potentiality. And Myrtle Fillmore would say, that's in there too. And so, because that's in us, not only do we reflect back to ourselves those who will maybe encourage our smallness or encourage that mundane part of us, but there are always energies being reflected back to us that reflect God, that reflect that spark of potentiality, that reflect that part of us that moves beyond the mundane nature. A few weeks ago, I received such a gift. And when I first saw it, I really wasn't aware of it. And again, going back to Eloise's treatment, she talked about when we are aware. When we are aware. So a few weeks ago, every Sunday morning I walk in a particular place here in town. And a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, yeah, right, there's no accidents, a hummingbird appeared. And it was a place where I'd never seen a hummingbird. And it was a place where there were no flowers. And it appeared, up here somewhere, and it caught my attention, and I stopped for a moment, and I go, oh my God, and I thought maybe at first it was a moth. No, that's a hummingbird. And it was kind of going back and forth and up and down, and it was a ways out, but the color would be reflected off its chest. And I just stopped in my tracks, and I thought, God, that's really gorgeous, and namaste, and thank you, and kind of zipped around and took off. So another week went by on a Sunday morning, and I was in the same place, and a hummingbird appeared. And this time it was much closer. It would come in much closer. And was really making its presence known, back and forth, in and out, up and down, and for quite some time. And where I was walking, I was kind of going around a big circle, and when I would come back around, it was in this one place. It hadn't gone anywhere. It did whatever it was doing, and it kind of came into my realm. It made itself known. And so I began to pay some attention to it. Like I always said, the awareness, I thought, wow, my metaphysical training, wow, why are you here? But I still wanted to keep on my glasses, half-empty glasses. So another week went by, and for the third week in a row, hummingbird appeared. And this time it got very close at times to where I could hear it. And then would move out and come back and up and down and around. And I thought, wow, I really need to investigate what hummingbird is about. So I've got some books on animal totems, and I went online, and I found some really interesting information I want to share with you. I put together a metaphysical piece of what hummingbird represents, and these are from two sources I've combined. One of them is a Native American spiritual teacher by the name of Sherry Fire Dancer. And the other part of this I gleaned out of what's called Mayan spirit medicine tradition. And this is what I found. Hummingbirds, because they're different from any other winged creature with their unique flight habits, pull our attention from the mundane, giving us pause to consider and appreciate the wonder of creation and its evolutionary paths. These delicate yet intensely strong and powerful expressions of spirit are the embodiment of a teaching that suggests we move from a belief in duality to a realization of unification. Through their embodiment of beauty, wonder, and material being. Wow. We talk about in our teaching duality being this idea of believing in a God and a devil or whatever, but duality is not just that. Duality involves our I am statements. And when our I am statements identify, remember the dictionary meaning. Empathy is identification. When our I am statements identify with the small and the mundane, that's where we find ourselves. But when we identify with the glory and the spectacle and the audacity that is within nature, the pure potentiality, then we say, I am that. I am that. And that's our road to change. That's our road to creation. You know, like most of you, I've been watching, things in the media and the news, and of course it looks like, there's a possibility we may go to war again. And I look at that, and I listen to political people, and I listen to media, and basically what they are trying to sell me on is smallness and the mundane. In other words, if I say, I believe in the pure potentiality of peace, I believe in the audacity of peace, I believe in the spectacle of working things out without violence, then the media says, oh no, the world you live in is too small and too mundane for that. And when we grab a hold of that, then all of the people show up to remind us how small and mundane we are. That's metaphysics. Imagine for a moment, and we talk about the prayer ministry, we talk about practitioners, we talk about the way that we step into the world of healing. Is that when you sit with a practitioner, or you're doing your own prayer work, or you're with your best friend, or you're with a counselor, or you're with whoever it is, to sit in that place and say, remind me just how magnificent I am. Remind me of the power of creation. Remind me of the Big Bang. Remind me of that energy that I carry within me from that time when that explosion happened that completely rocked the universe, that could not be held back. Remind me of my pure potentiality. Yesterday I attended, besides the wedding, yesterday was a full day, I attended this thing at Skyway House. And Skyway House, which is a recovery organization, has a promotional video. And in this video are these short testimonies of people who have been through addiction. And I sit there watching that and I go, oh my God, pure potentiality, pure audacity. People who were being consumed by addiction. People who, I don't want to offend anyone, but people who, if you were to cross them on the street, might be pretty scary. People who were destroying their lives, burning their lives to the ground. And today they sit in front of a camera and they say, today I am a mother, I am a father, I am clean and sober, I am working, I am contributing, I'm coaching Little League, I'm coaching soccer, I am here, I am bright-eyed, I am beautiful. And I say to myself, look at that audacity, look at that creation. There is nothing small or mundane about that. That is pure potentiality. Because these are people everybody gave up on. Everybody. And there they are. And this is going back to the creative essence of people who finally said one day, I am that. I am that mom. I am that dad. I am that coach. I am that taxpayer. I am that person who gives back to society. I am a really decent, loving child of God today. I am that. And when we say that, that is just incredibly powerful. That is the word of creation. That is how we align ourselves. Ernest Holmes says, he said, the great mystics locate spirit and the kingdom of heaven within. They plunge beneath the material surface of life and find spiritual cause. This cause they call God. And this God is all, in all. Material expression is spirit manifest. The people I saw in the video, material manifestation. of the great I am that. That incredible creative spirit. You know, I hate to be preachy, you know what I'm saying? But you know, we have got to be guardians of our consciousness, and when those people who are selling small and mundane come along, we can't answer the door. Because I saw people on a video yesterday that when the audacious and when the power of creation showed up at the door, that's what they answered. Not the small and the mundane. Just because people gave up on them didn't mean they gave up on themselves. And that's where it is. That's what unifies us with the power of this universe. What unifies us is when we claim our birthright. You know, you hear us talk in metaphysics all the time about claim, you know, we are the children of God. Claim our birthright. Our birthright is back to the Big Bang. Our birthright is creation itself. How can we stand in front of a wave that's pounding into a jagged rock and say, you're small and mundane, you shouldn't do that? That's true of our lives as well. There's nothing we can't do. There's nothing we can't accomplish. When we are able to grab a hold of and turn it over to the magic of spirit. The magic of spirit. So this morning I want to end with an impromptu call and response. Just as soon as we take that call. So, I am going to read some statements, and I want you to come back with me. I am that. Okay? So why don't you practice one time? Go.
I am that.
One more time.
I am that.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right. So, this is our call and response. Imagine the splendor of the universal Big Bang.
I am that.
Imagine the divine push for Michelangelo to climb up the scaffold and paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
I am that.
Imagine the power behind the beauty of the rose.
I am that.
Imagine the intelligence behind the healing nature of the body. Imagine the wisdom behind every great discovery and realization.
I am that.
Imagine the courage behind the great migrations.
I am that.
Imagine the faith behind the caterpillar entering the cocoon.
I am that.
Imagine the love that binds together lasting relationships.
I am that.
Imagine the curiosity that propels forward a lifetime of seeking.
I am that.
And so it is.